Unholy fire. A lot of this story surrounds the event involving two of Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu. I want to point out that these were good men. In fact, they were being prepared to take major leadership in the priesthood of all of Israel. One of them would become the high priest. When Moses took 70 men up the mountain to meet with God, they were among them. These were good men. And what they were trying to do was a good thing. They weren't there having an affair, or they weren't there doing anything bad. They were actually doing a good deed, but they were doing it the wrong way. It's what I call wrong time to do something the wrong way. You see, it was so important at this time to get everything right, because that would be the example for future generations going to thousands of years. There would be priests in the future that would do things the wrong way and even sin in the temple. But God would not strike them down. But they did here because it was very wrong what they did as an example. Jewish tradition comes down to us of the various things that were wrong. First of all, they say that these young men should not have been doing this particular deed because that was reserved for Aaron, their father, the high priest. On top of that, it was two men going in when God said one man was to go in, the high priest. So they were wrong in that. And then, of course, they lit the fires themselves rather than using the sacred fires. So this needed to be dealt with, and God did. Interesting that when they took the bodies out, as the story says, Aaron and his other two sons couldn't mourn. They couldn't touch the bodies, and the bodies couldn't stay there. So all of Israel mourned for them. And some men came in, and they had to carefully take the bodies out because even the men bearing the bodies could not become unclean at that point. So they had to pick up the young men by their clothes and take them out and bury them carefully. One last thing that is mentioned in this story, they after everything is done and they're ready to leave Mount Sinai and head towards Canaan, Moses turns to his brother-in-law. Now, in the scripture, actually calls him father-in-law, but that's just an interpretation. The words being used right there means any relative by marriage. So this was actually his brother-in-law. His name was Hobab. He said, please come with us. Go into the land with us. And he said, no, I think I'll go back home and take up where I left off and just go on from there. Moses says, no, please, come with us. You can be our eyes. You can be you're the one who knows this land and knows how to get around. Please come with us. And in exchange, you and your descendants will have an inheritance in the land. Well, he finally agrees to go. And as we know from other scriptures, they go into the land. His descendants settle around Jericho for a while and finally go down to an area that I have visited several times, an area called Arad. And that's where they lived. Well, come back when we give you more insights on the story.